Hello, welcome to the top 5 books that shaped my life. This is a nice, fun show I like to do with usually content creators to talk about the books that made them who they are today and why they're so obsessed with books. But today's guest, Evan Leikam, little different, just loved books so much, decided to write one. How did it all happen?
Oh man, yeah, my agent Seth Fishman plucked me right out of a live stream. I was streaming one day like 3 years ago to I don't know, I was on live on TikTok. I was talking to like 30 or 40 people, just kind of talking about books, and somebody asked if I was working on anything, and I was like, yeah, I'm working on a book right now. And then Seth just happened to be in that. I think he had followed me from different stuff I'd posted, and he just that day happened to be in the live stream, and then he sent me a message on. I think he DM'd me on Instagram.
Oh, and you responded?
Yeah. I didn't
Why?
respond to the first DM that Maude sent me.
Hey, do you want to collaborate sometime? I'd love to be a guest on a podcast.
Sorry. Maude has
anyway, 3 years later, here we are.
made fun of me for that. Yeah, Seth, he was like, hey, if you have anything, send it over to me. And then I sent him the first draft of Angie Kills a King, and he rejected it and was like, hey, nope, this isn't it. I don't know, man. Sorry. And I was like, damn. And so I just didn't really try again for a year. And then I went back to it and I, punched it all up and tried harder and then sent it to him. And he was like, yeah, this is pretty good. But I had only sent him 5 chapters because that was what I focused on. And I was like, I'll just punch this up and send it to Seth. And then he was like, can you send me the rest of it? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll get it to you in like a week. And so I just spent the next week just trying as hard as I could to get the rest of the book done. And I think I barely squeaked into his roster. And he was like, yeah, I'll take you on. Let's do it. And then, and then we did a few more drafts of Angie Kills a King, and I punched it up as much as I could. And then we limped it to Tor, but it got rejected by a couple other publishers too. It really, it was all over the place for a little while. And then Tor was like, yeah, we want it. And then HarperCollins found out that Tor wanted it and HarperCollins wanted it. And then that was a really exciting few days there. But obviously we sold it to Stephanie Stein at Tor with a 3-book deal, which was really incredible. It was really awesome. And ever since then, I have been I'm making some content for sure. I'm trying my best, but most of my time is dedicated to writing books. And I've got Angie and Shadow, the sequel to Angie Kills a King, about to cross the finish line for Tor. Yeah. And working on quite a few other things at the moment too. So
turns out it takes longer than a week to write a book.
It takes a really long time. Yeah, it takes longer than I thought it would. Yeah. And it's funny because when you think you're done, you're not even close. It's still got a lot of things to iron out. And then the other frustrating part is that when you are done, when your publisher says, hey, you are done, you need to stop, we're going to take this, you don't feel like you're done. Even looking back at Angie Kills a King, I'm like, oh yeah, but if I could only flesh that out a little bit more, but I can't. It's just the way it is. Yeah. I want to do a Taylor Swift style, Angie Kills a King, Evans version. And 10 years where change everything, fix it all. But nope, it's the way it is. And, but it's been a really incredible, really exciting process. And, it's frustrating sometimes. And there's a lot of back and forth between me and my agent or me and my editor, or I won't talk to anybody for 2 months and I'm just in a writing hole, and then I kind of pop my head out again and
is that where we are right now?
I'm in pretty deep. You're the first person I've talked to face to face in a few days. But I've also been sick, by the way. I'm sick right now. So if you hear me sniffling, it's not because of drugs.
Is uncomfortable at all. Evan Leikam is a fantasy author and a book content creator known for championing epic sci-fi and fantasy stories across social media. With a deep love of immersive world building, complex characters, and emotionally devastating plot twists, Evan has built a passionate online community of readers while developing his own original works in the genre. He blends thoughtful literary analysis with high-energy fandom enthusiasm, making him a trusted voice in the modern fantasy space.
Wow. Could you copy-paste that and then send it to me? Because I think Tor would probably appreciate that more than the self-written bio that's all over the internet right now, which is just about my love for FromSoft games. So let's...
Love of what games?
I like Dark Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring, Bloodborne.
You could just say you're masochistic.
I mean, that's what people that are bad at the games say. So,
I did quite a bit of time in Elden Ring, actually. I liked that one.
Not enough, apparently.
Not enough. No, because I think that the co-op was very broken, and it wasn't until friend created a mod where it was easier for the co-op to exist, and when they died, they actually stayed in the game instead of having to boot in and out each time. It just made it for a better gaming experience.
Have you played Night Rain? Oh, it's really fun. Yeah. I'll do a little name drop. I've been playing Night Rain with Will White lately, the Cradle author.
Cool.
Yeah, he's much better than me at it. It's like the only way I want to play it now. It's because he's so much better than me, and he actually carries me through the rounds.
I will say every time I stream video games, someone's likely carrying me as well.
Yeah.
Except Marvel Rivals. I'm a beast. Cool. So the whole premise of the top 5 books that shaped my life is sort of indicative in the title. I'm going to go through the top 5 books that shaped Evan's life. Now, you have chosen quite a few. And what I noticed from your list, because you even gave like special mentions with like 4 book titles in that as well.
Yeah.
You gave me so many books, but not your own.
I mean, I figured like it's like, Angie Kills the King absolutely shaped my life for sure.
I thought it would be number 1.
I mean, it's definitely shaped my life the most recently and the most intensely for sure. Like it's been a big shift in the way, because I was like working in like restaurants and, I was in bands and like I was roughing it there for a little while. And then, getting to make art full time is incredible. And so like, and that's what I've wanted since I was a teenager. And so getting that dream realized, I'm like so over the moon grateful about it. And it's so amazing. But like,
it shaped your life.
It very much has. Yeah. But I thought you meant like, like other books that did shape.
Anyway, I read the book.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
I do have a couple of questions about it. Where did this idea come from? Because it's such a pertinent title where it just hits you and it hits the ground running straight out the gate for this. So where did this all come from? How did you discover Angie?
Sure. Like, so I had tried writing a few. I mean, I got to the end of like a few books that I was messing with. So I'd been writing for years before this. But I think that they've been pretty ambitious and just kind of trying to style them after these other big giant books that I really love, stuff like The Song of Ice and Fire and like Joe Abercrombie stuff and Robin Hobb stuff and lots of characters and like just a bunch of stuff going on. And I was just like finding myself like not really at a point with my like a skill level where I felt like I could really do something I was really proud of with it. It was just a mess like every time. So I was like, okay, let's dial it back and let's do like a 2-hander. Like let's do just like a simple kind of like A to B story with just like 2 main characters, So like what would create the most tension between 2 main characters? What if one is the captor of the other? That'd be really cool. So that's kind of where that started to germinate. And then also with the main premise of the book of someone murdering a head of state, like if that really happened, if something that significant really did happen, what would be the kind of ripple effect realistically?
Power vacuum.
Right. Like it's just a giant disaster probably, especially if it's from one person who doesn't understand the political landscape, doesn't understand the ramifications of doing something like that, the consequences of doing something like that. And so I thought like that's like a really cool arena for this character to operate in, like especially if we make this main character just kind of the worst.
She's messy.
Yeah, she's really messy and really, but like I wrote Angie as like it was almost like every author does a little bit of a self-insert. And I feel like with Angie, I was kind of like, how would 20-year-old Evan feel about this? Like how justified would he feel about this? Like Angie is very much like, yeah, I did it. What, you think, I'm just going to get punished for it? Like, you're just going to punish, like, why would you do that? And so she's got like this very irritating, very abrasive attitude toward the consequences of her actions, which was really fun to write, but I imagine is really frustrating to read. It's like, she's not a very likable character at all, but trust me, readers, it's a trilogy and I'm like doing something with the character, but yeah, she is definitely like way more headstrong than is smart at all. But, she's kind of dumb. Like she just makes a lot of really bad decisions over and over again. But, it felt good in the moment to do something that intense and to do something that
she thought was right.
Yeah, it felt really meaningful. And, maybe it was a decent idea, but maybe not great for the community that she's a part of and the city and the country. And, maybe there was like this other force that was kind of working on it already and that she didn't really even know about that and, didn't assess really. It was just more for personal reasons than for anything else. But she's kind of she's like trying to justify it like, no, it wasn't for personal reasons. It was for activism. I was being an activist. And it's like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't at all. Like, if you were an activist, you'd check with the other people in your sphere, but
She had tunnel vision.
Totally, yeah. But I think that it made for a pretty exciting debut, and I'm really proud of it. And I think it's a really cool book. And I'm, as most authors would say, I'm happier with the sequel than I am with the first one.
That's always the case, isn't
Totally,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. The world building I found very, very interesting. Some of the influences like I sort of picked up on, others seemed really like unique to
Thank
Evan.
you.
But let's talk about sort of a couple of things here. Drug use and your take on it in the book, and it kind of being a trait, a character trait in a way, and another sort of side of the coin with consequence. And so we'll touch on that, and then I want to talk about the bounty hunters.
Sure. So yeah, with
I'll let you die first.
The drug use in this world, this specific drug, if you use it for too long, you become a monster. And in no way do I mean that in the sense of like drug addicts are monsters. It's just that the drug addicts are seen as monsters. In our world, in this world, these monsters have gotten to this point of just total desperation for the drug. Kind of like, I think it was inspired by
Arcane?
Well,
Arcane
there's
had something similar.
that movie. It's kind of a bad movie, but that Ethan Hawke vampire movie. What's that called? Dark something ciders. This is some Ethan Hawke vampire movie, but there was like this. There's this one scene in the movie that's like really, it really inspired this, and it was this vampire like monster thing like kind of wanders into an apartment where there's blood, and it's like so desperate for the stuff that it's like literally licking it up off the ground while it's like shards of glass and like blood and stuff. And I found that to be so inspirational. It was just like how addicted people can get to this stuff to the point where they're doing that, and then also how vilified they are, like how like the powers that be will use people who are sick, like they're addicts, as like, aha, like look at the scum of our society, and like just doing that. And then like on a personal level too, we've got people in this world who are kind of like broken because of their addiction to this stuff, and it's a real thing. And I've experienced it. I've experienced like not a really hard drug addiction, but I've been like addicted to nicotine and like addicted to food and like all kind of, I've felt that addiction. And then I've got friends who have been in and out of rehab, and like it's a really huge problem, and it's a very multifaceted problem. And I think that sometimes people have a tendency, especially like the powers that be, have a tendency to look at it through like a very narrow lens.
Yes.
And then use it for their own devices too, which I thought would be a really cool take on the political system and the world building in this book too.
I thought it was a really fascinating angle, and it's something that sort of like stays with the story and starts to unravel. And it's like another element of time not being on their side, and that pressure along with it. Another thing I thought was really, really cool was the sort of induction of the bounty hunters that you have here, and they all represent a different animal. How did that come about?
I have no idea. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, I was like,
it's almost like Zodiac, but not.
Yeah, like I almost didn't do the masks either, because like you want to have your characters like emoting, and you can do a lot with people's faces, and so to have a character that was like half of the book their whole face was covered, I was kind of like, I don't really want to do that. But it's such a cool idea. And then there's like some lore behind why the menagerie wears the masks too. The masks also offer up some powers to them, like which I kind of touch on but don't really thoroughly explain in the book. But I kind of get after it a little more in the second book, and I will much more in the third one too. But yeah, like that kind of developed. I don't really know. I think it was just a way of like distinguishing Angie and the Hawk at first, because I think, yeah, they just felt like, I felt like I just kind of had like two characters. They were just like these two women, and I was just like, let's make the older woman like just a little more like badass and a little bit more like legend behind her, and like some more imagery of like why it's such a legend. And I think I had run into a part where I was like, how can I have Angie like immediately recognize her? And I was like, oh, just put her in a mask. And then that kind of developed into like, oh, well, she's part of like this whole cadre of bounty hunters, and they all wear masks. That's kind of how it developed.
There's a lot of symbology, I think, with it, of what the mask not only represents, but what they're hiding behind. And also with the dynamic with Angie and Kit, the hawk, is that Angie's always looking for answers, and she thinks she knows exactly what she can see, but she can't ever see what's underneath the mask. She can't ever see what's underneath actions. She can't see what's underneath society. Like she's blocked. And I really liked that as the, oh, there you go. That's what
I totally thought of that. That was totally intentional. Yes.
Did you have any inspirations, or let me reframe this question. This is my last one about Angie before we move on to the list. And you're saying Angie, and Moira Quirk says Angie. So there's this like different ways.
I have an
to
American
say it.
accent, and Moira Quirk has a delightful British accent.
And I'm Australian, so
Right,
we've got three different. It's like data, and data.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like
Angie's named
Auntie,
after
and
my
Auntie.
mom, whose name was Angela, but she went by Angie, and then so that's why it's
Oh.
just out of habit saying Angie.
Got it. The question that I have is, did you watch The Neverending Story growing up?
Of course, yeah.
Did you not learn anything?
See, okay,
from
so
that?
the thing about that, I'm gonna defend myself here.
I'm
And
going to attack you
I won't even
first.
defend myself on a whole lot of criticisms about Angie Kills the King because they totally exist. But
So just for the record, Evan kills a horse, not slowly, not slowly,
off screen, off the page,
not slowly.
Okay, let me just say, I watched The Neverending Story as a kid, and so did you, and so did a bunch of other people, and we all had to sit there and watch Atreyu try to drag that horse out of a depression swamp. And I thought that scene was much worse than what I did. Like, mine was PG-13 compared to that X-rated.
No, it's pretty horrible still.
It was pretty bad.
I did think of Artax the entire time, whole time.
That's like one of the main criticisms for the book is that there was some horse death in there.
You need a heads up for that.
I did it for a reason, though. Like it's,
yes,
but
I mean, the whole through line is consequences, right? Consequences of action.
Right. Like the scene before that, Angie's just like, no, I'm not going anywhere. Like, we're staying put. And then because they stay put, some horrible things happen to this horse. And, it's just and she even thinks about it later. She's just like, oh my gosh, like maybe I should just listen to people once in a while because like actions do have consequences. But yeah, the horse thing, yeah, for sure. I'm happy to say in the second book, there is no animal death. And in fact, we have an animal companion. In the second book,
this is the make good you're giving us all. Thank you.
In my notes, when I introduce the animal companion in my notes, it says, do not fucking kill him.
Thank you.
Just keep him alive.
Yes.
No matter
okay,
what.
Good.
Kind of like what's the little animal's name in Red Rising?
Sophocles.
Sophocles. Yeah, I remember when you did your panel with Pierce at Dragonsteel. Pierce said, "I can't give anything away, but Sophocles lives through the whole series," and that was like a nice
Yeah, but the caveat for that is because Sophocles is a clone. So even if Sophocles dies, he will stay alive.
That's fine with me. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a clone, but Sophocles and jelly beans, love it. Love that combo.
Cute. Yeah.
So let's go through your top 5. Now, I usually do these in an order of like 5 to 1, the impact that it's had on your life. And you said, no, Maude, I will not subscribe to your rules. I will give you 5 books in a chronological order of when the book impacted my life and shaped it, not the severity of effect. So we'll go through and start at the beginning. And I actually brought props for this one.
You got a pretty one.
Not only do I have a very pretty one, but I also have an original one. I don't know how original it is, but the copy.
So the Australian one?
Look how yellow this is. I don't want to put a phone number because this is it's had many, many owners. I'm so scared to turn it because the pages are almost done. The copyright for this one, 1970s. I believe this was 25th printing of a mass paperback, 1970. So I got a 1970.
Which one is that? What's the square on the bottom right of the page? Say?
Houghton Mifflin Company, Dolphin Edition.
Yeah, I've never seen that one before.
Valentine.
I'm really nerded out on the covers too. I've never seen that one ever.
Valentine Books. This is and it was 95 cents. So anyway, The Hobbit. You read this one, I'm guessing early. How did The Hobbit make such an impact and shape your life?
It was just like the first book that my mom bought it for me when I was, I don't know, like 10 years old. I think it was because what I would do is, so there was a library kind of like next to the school that I went to when I was a kid. And my parents didn't get off work until like 2 hours after we all got out of school. So, a lot of kids will just go to the library and hang out. And I remember I used to go to the library and there would be like this little 13-inch VCR combo TV, and I would go there and for a while I would just on repeat watch the 1976, I think this is the year, the Hobbit movie, that Rankin Bass
it's really scary.
It's really but I was fascinated with it, and I think my mom, when she came to pick me up on a couple occasions noticed I was watching this movie, so she bought me the book. I didn't even know it was a book. I was just this movie's so wild. Movie. And so she bought me the book, and I think that was I had read Harry Potter and I'd read a couple other things, but The Hobbit was like the first thing that I remember like kind of coming to me and me just thinking like me like really just descending into like this completely different world, you know? Because even with like Harry Potter, there's like cars and houses and
Mm.
like, you know, like it gets into it like a different world kind of, but like with The Hobbit, it was like the first time I'd really been dropped into something completely foreign to me. And I think that like it's so episodic, and I think it probably took me like months to get through,
Oh
obviously, but
yeah.
yeah, it was just it was like the first time that, and I'm pretty sure like I carried it around like everywhere with me, and I have like vivid memories of like, you know, I think it was over the summer, so I would like go to my mom's office like while she was working, and I would like be laying behind her reading The Hobbit, you know, and I just like carried it around everywhere, and I had like a special bookmark for it and everything, and it was just
Oh.
such like a it was like my first real experience of it,
Escapism?
yeah, escapism, and like nobody else, like none of my friends like knew about it. Like with Harry Potter, it was like such a phenomenon. Everybody was talking about it, but like I
Not
felt
when
like,
I read it.
oh really?
And I literally,
Yeah,
I was in high school, barely in high school, trying to pass around this copy. And
yeah,
I'm like, please read this book. I need to talk
yeah.
about it with someone. And I still remember a friend looking at me and going, because I told her what it's about. And she's like, no one cares about wizards, Maude.
Oh my god, that's awful. They sure did.
2 years later, I was like,
But
anyway.
with the Hobbit, like it felt like this, and it's so funny because it's such a it's like an immensely popular book. Obviously, I didn't know it at the time, and none of my friends were talking about it or anything. So it just felt like this thing that was like wholly my own, and so yeah, it was really important to me. Yeah.
I love that story. How many copies of The Hobbit do you own?
So like this, there's a bunch of books in front of it. This whole shelf is Tolkien right there. I think I have like 7 or 8 copies of The Hobbit. My
Aw,
favorite one is the one from the 90s. It's like a black cover with like a really pudgy Bilbo with like a really skeletal, creepy looking golem behind him.
I
I don't know if
think
you
I
have it. It's
have.
like a paperback.
I've got a copy of, where is it? The worst cover, because it's the movie version.
Yeah, yeah, those are pretty bad.
I think I
I
may
thought
have
the
thrown it.
Hobbit movies were fine. They're fine.
That's that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, they scratch the itch that needs to be scratched. It's fine. Like
We do not have time to
no, we
unpack
don't.
that
We
one.
don't. No.
The next book we have is the only book on your list that I have not read, and it's called The Lost Years of Merlin by T.A. Barron. Tell me all about this book.
Yeah, so those are the kind of, so my mom obviously I think noticed like, oh wow, Evan's really tearing through The Hobbit. And he tore
He's read it
through all these.
19
Yeah,
times.
like he really seems to like this stuff. So I remember we were in a Barnes and Noble, and they were having like this special where the first book, The Lost Years of Merlin, was $2.99, and I still have the copy that has like the big like Barnes and Noble $2.99 promotion thing on it. On the cover it says like fans of Harry Potter like drop Harry Potter and pick up Merlin or something like that. So I think my mom was like, oh, he'll probably like this, and I really did, and that was my first experience with like, I guess you could call it portal fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I guess it's like technically portal fantasy, but yeah, that was like my first experience with like something like kind of like much more on my level at the time. Cause like The Hobbit was still, it wasn't hard for me to read, but it's pretty old.
Yeah.
Like the,
I think it's a really antiquated language. Like,
yeah,
we
like,
just don't talk like that. It's hard to
yeah,
absorb.
I don't think I think I was enamored with it, but I don't think I really like understood exactly everything that was going on. I was like 10 years old.
Mm.
But with Lost Years of Merlin, it was kind of like more directed, like right at like 11-year-old Evan. And it just felt like so lush. And it was, you know, the main land is called like Fincara. It was like my first experience with like, and this has been like trod over so many times, but it was like my first experience with like, you know, this guy like washes up on the beach of this island, and then he's just got to kind of like meet friends along the way, and like there's this big bad, and he's got to like cross the land to go like get the big bad, and like, oh, the big bad's like his dad, you know, and it's like it's
Well,
so
thanks
like
for spoiling. No.
it's so like it's been done like so many times, but that was like my first experience with that, and it was my first person also, so that was like a pretty big one too for me. I didn't really know that you could really do that. I remember specifically though that I skipped over all the prologues because they were written in italics, and I was like, oh, I don't need to read that for some reason. And then like years later, I went back and read the prologues, and I was like, oh damn, I probably should have read these when I was a kid. This would have explained a lot more.
And are you writing prologues for your books?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
I know, right? But then it's funny too because I put it in the prologue for Andrew Kills the King when I sent it over to my agent. And I was like, hey, I wrote a prologue for this, but it was all in italics. And he was like, why did you put it in italics? And I was like, I don't know.
That's what you're supposed
Yeah,
to
like I
do.
don't It's like, don't do that. That's stupid.
Yeah, because if you put it in italics, no one will
No
read
one's
it.
gonna read it. Yeah, exactly. But with the Lost Years of Merlin, I think it was just like it's hard to explain. Like, I think for me personally, there's a lot of nostalgia wrapped up around it. I don't know how people's experience would be with it, like going and reading it now, but that was just another series. It just felt so magical and it felt so immersive, and it just I cared so much about this one character, and it was just all centered around him, and it was first person, and it was just him growing from like this kind of like moody, like kind of grumpy dude to like Merlin, like towards the end of it, and yeah, T.A. Barron's imagination, like I think he's a really underrated author. Like I think that like you never really know what's going to be thrown at you. They're really good books. I would definitely recommend them to anybody. It's just I don't know exactly what's going on with the series right now, but there's like 5 main books, and they're pretty easy to get through, and yeah, they're just really, really good.
But is it something that you can recommend as an adult to adults? Because I know that like nostalgia plays such a big impact. Like it hits at the right spot at the right time. Like The Princess Bride is my favorite movie, but I think that's in majority the reason is because I watched it when I was 7. And I kept falling in love with it, but it planted the seed at that right time.
Yeah.
And I've recommended it to friends and they watched it and they're like, well, what did I just see? And I'm like, the perfect film.
I think that nostalgia plays a really big role, both in my recommending Lost Years of Merlin and just in general. I mean, I just tried to read Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind and barely got through half of it and then DNF'd it. But then I had a bunch of people on all my social pages that were like, this is like literally one of the best books I've ever read. Like, you're going to love it. It's so fantastic. And I wonder sometimes, like, because I do the same thing with like video games and movies and even like music, like albums that I like really, really love. And oh my God, this is like one of the best albums ever. And people are like, it's okay. And it's like, how could you possibly think that? Like, this is incredible. But it's like, no, because at the time I was, 20 years old. And like, yeah, it was like, it really spoke to me. And people are just in different parts of their lives. So with regard to Lost Years of Merlin, I think that it holds up for a first time read for people that are really familiar with fantasy. You're just going to run over a lot of tropes. Like you're going to run into a lot of things that you're going to be like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like that's why I even spoiled that like the main bad guy is like his dad, and like because it's like so obvious. You can see it coming from a mile away. But at the time when I was a kid, and like if you have kids, if you're listening and you have kids and you want to get them into fantasy, I think Lost Years of Merlin is a fantastic series to get. Like they're like 11, 12, like preteens, like perfect books for that.
I love it. The next book we have, your number 3 choice, is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Yeah. Just to preface and give you context for this, I first read this book, I think 12 or so years ago. The very first iteration of a book club that I created online was called Geek Bomb Book Chat. And this was where my idea for Maude's book club all stemmed from. I loved fantasy books so much that I wanted to interview the authors about them. And I was lucky enough to interview Scott Lynch when he was still doing interviews.
So cool.
Which is something that he doesn't really do at all anymore. Mm-hmm. And nerding out with him in 2014 was so
lucky.
Cool.
Oh my gosh.
And I was recommended this book, and I feel like there's so few books that just is so clever. And I think that's like the word that I would use for this. It's a clever book. So why did it make your list and how did it shape you?
I think that because I read it before I read any Joe Abercrombie, so I feel the reason I'm saying this because I feel the same way about Joe Abercrombie too. But with Lies of Locke Lamora, it was the first time I had read a fantasy book that had that much voice in it. Like it felt like Scott Lynch was just being 100% himself, like throughout the entire book, and it's kind of hard to articulate, but it's just I felt like it was the least stuffy book that I had read up until that point. Like I felt like I was reading a lot of like Song of Ice and Fire. It's not stuffy, but it's very like there's a lot of it's just very like proper, like it's very dense, and like Martin has a way of writing that's just it's so different than the way that Scott Lynch writes, which is a little more like laid back and like just doesn't take itself so seriously at all. But it's also still like so articulate and clever and funny and like the immersion factor there too with Camor being kind of like this almost like Mediterranean like landscape that I had never really read before. Like the relationship between like Locke and Jean, Father Chains, like just the first, like if you've never read Lies of Locke Lamora, just go read the first like 20 pages of it. Like the conversation between the Chains and the thief takers, whatever that guy's name is, like the main guy in charge of all the thieves. But like that conversation is so hilarious, and you could totally like visualize like this conversation happening between these two people. There was like such a like an ease of conversation that was really quippy and just had so much voice to it. And then like the descriptions too, and like just everything about that book, I was just so blown away with. It was like really inspiring for my own writing too, where it was just like, man, you really can insert like so much of your own like attitude and the way that you look at things and the way you talk and everything into a book. And it doesn't have to follow like this straight line of like what's acceptable for like, you know, exposition or dialogue or anything like that. You can really do whatever you want. So yeah, I just like, I owe so much of my approach to Scott Lynch, even though I'll probably never reach his highs, but I still, I got to meet him at Worldcon like 6 months ago. Like he was talking to my friend Jackson, and I just kind of like inserted myself between them because I was like, I have to talk to Scott Lynch, and I was like, hey, just so you know, like I'm writing full time, and I don't know if I would have gotten to this point without you. And he was like, oh, cool, can I have some of your money? And I was like, without missing a beat, he was just like, oh, cool, like yeah, could how much you making right now? Like, what do you? And it was just so, he brushed it off so much, and I think he knew, like, you know, I was really excited to talk to him. But and then, you know, the sequels to Lies of Locke Lamora too, I think are just as good, and I don't think that they degrade in quality at all. I think a couple people have mentioned something like that, but I just disagree. I think it's just consistently.
Well, you're right. Such a high bar from the first book.
Sure. Like, I guess maybe the third book is probably not quite as good as the third one, but I think his voice and the way that he approaches all of his dialogue, all of his descriptions, the pacing of his books, his ideas for what he's going to do next and how he's going to weave these plots together. It's all so uniquely Scott Lynch, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I could pick it up out of a lineup of other authors. So that was just a really big inspiration to me writing wise, and then also just trying to like find other books that were that captivating, and it doesn't. Not a lot of them do. Yeah,
quippy is a really great way to say it as well, like that dialogue and the banter, and just like it's just elevated, I feel. How did you just stumble upon the series, and have you, or how often do you reread?
I think Lies of Locke Lamora I picked up from Reddit. I was on the Reddit fantasy subreddit for a while. I don't go on there anymore because
is that because your book's on there?
Yeah, because every now and then like someone will just be like, this book fucking sucks, or like someone's like, hey, I thought this was good, but like a lot of it, yeah, it got hit pretty hard on Reddit. Like
on Reddit, which was your sanctuary.
I know, it was like I know, and it's like,
is there no respect anymore? But I understand how that would kind of like do you in as a content creator that critiques books now that you're an author. That's got to be a bit of a head fuck, no?
Yeah, it is. At the same time, though, it's like it's made it kind of cushioned the blow a little bit, because I know that there's books that I've read where I've been like I don't understand why anybody likes this. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm not going to make a giant Reddit post about how crappy I think it is, but like, I don't know where that comes from really. But like, I get it. Like, I understand that some stuff doesn't work for some people. Like I've had things that are like even Lies of Locke Lamora, like you can go on Reddit right now and have people be like, I have no idea why people like this so much. And
I did it for my book club and I gave it the most resounding 5 ever. And then people were like, 2.5. And I'm like,
how?
Why?
They're like, what are you talking about? But then, you know,
we're reading the same book.
But, you know, people read Wizard's First Rule and they're like, I like literally everything about this. And I really, really did not like that book. I couldn't bring myself to finish it. And, you know, that's why I think it's so liberating, really, as an author and even as a content creator, that you're not going to hit everybody. And it's very liberating because it's like, okay, well, then I'm just going to make the thing that I want, like the thing that I want to read, the thing that I want to write, and the chips will fall where they may. And some people will like it and some people won't. And that's just totally cool. But we were talking about Reddit, and like that was where I was getting a lot of my recommendations from. Since then, I've gotten more of my recommendations from social media, like Instagram and TikTok, and just like friends. Like someone will just, and a lot of it's like osmosis at this point too, where it's like I'll just keep hearing about something over and over and over again, which is why I started reading. Right now, I'm reading Ken Liu's Dandelion Dynasty, and it's just because I kept just seeing content about it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a whirl.
But it lived up to the hype. Very
much so. It's very, very good. But with Lies of Locke Lamora, that was definitely one of the Reddit darlings in like, I don't know, 2015, something like that, which is funny because the book came out a long time before that. But yeah, like Reddit, definitely, that's how I found it. What was the other part of your question?
Do you do rereads?
Oh, yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I'm not super often, but I've read Gentleman Bastards. Well, I've read Lies of Locke Lamora like 4 times because the audiobook is so good.
Simon Vance?
That's Michael Page, I think. Yeah.
Got it.
And he does a really good job. But my favorite narrator is Stephen Pacey, obviously. Like, he's incredible.
Itself. He did what he did with Glockter, where he gave Glockter a lisp in dialogue, but then when he was thinking, and it was an internal monologue, he did not have a lisp. So clever.
was
Except he says grimace. Can I just have that vent?
What's wrong with grimace? He's got
It's not how you say it.
It's not
It's
how you say it.
grimace.
Yeah, no,
It's
you're right.
grimace.
I agree.
And I got locked onto that. And it's so funny how often Joe Abercrombie makes someone grimace in that book. And
Does Joe Abercrombie say grimace?
I don't think so.
No, you should have asked him when you.
I didn't want to because we were talking and giving, such flowers to Stephen Pacey because he does do an amazing job.
He is really, really good.
I was going to do a video about that where I'm like, hey, audiobook listeners, what is the word where you're like, huh?
I was really pleasantly surprised to see that Michael Kramer does the audiobooks for Dandelion Dynasty. Anybody, what's that? What does that look? Do you not like Michael Kramer?
I don't like Michael Kramer.
I have mixed feelings about Michael Kramer. I've gotten
better about Michael Kramer.
I like Michael Kramer just fine. I think that, how do I put this? I think that he's got like a weird inflection sometimes where he kind of like does an upward inflection on some of the sentences every now and then.
As an Aussie, that's fine by me because that's how we talk. But he's got like is it called Pan-Pacific as like a transatlantic sort of accent where it almost sounds like a 1950s radio announcer when he talks.
I guess that's true.
That's
I like his gruff voice that he does where he's just like,
he's got range.
I don't know. He's got great range for voices and
his Lopen is fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, Gaucho?
It's really like narrow. His really like nasally voice is really good. Yeah.
How's it going, Gaucho? And I'm like, oh, cool.
But I was just pleasantly surprised because it's like because I've listened to so much Michael Kramer, it just makes it so much easier to get through for some reason.
3 books of Mistborn, and then by the second or third book of Stormlight, I was
all the Wheel of Time books.
No, see, Rosamund Pike has started narrating those, and hers are so superior.
I gotta have the Michael Kramer, Kate reading. That's the dynamic duo.
It is the power couple of the book world.
Totally.
Yes. Yeah.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, rereading. I reread stuff. Typically I'll do it with audio, but I just my most recent reread, I reread It over like I don't know. I just like Stephen King a lot, but yeah, it is a really.
I will never read that book. I know I won't enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely there's problems with it for sure. There's really big problems with it. But
I also don't like being scared.
Have you read The Dark Tower?
I have.
Okay, yeah, those are like that's like the series it's like King's only real series. But when people ask about Stephen King, I'm like, just go read The Dark Tower. Like, go read that.
And that was on one of you had numerous sort of honorable mentions, and Dark Tower was on there. I will say that I found it a little slow paced, but I did think that the start and end of that book is the best way to start and end a book out of any book I've read.
For the Gunslinger specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Hill does a little nod to that in King Sorrow.
I saw that you've just read that one. Yeah. I read, what was Joe King's book that we did for Halloween? I was really disturbed by it. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he writes a lot like his dad. He's not
I don't
afraid
like
to
being
pull
disturbed.
Punches. Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Nosferatu.
Oh, yeah. I haven't read that one yet. Yeah, I thought King Sorrow was really good. You shouldn't read that if you don't like being disturbed. There's some pretty gnarly parts of King Sorrow that I was really excited about. But yeah, if you
it's like that big, no?
Yeah, it was really long. It didn't feel that long. Like it's he's a really good writer. Like, I mean, but yeah, the Gunslinger for sure. That one hit me pretty hard. And like I've since gone through the Dark Tower a couple times, maybe like 3 times, 4 if you wanted to count Gunslinger. What's the second one called again?
Got nothing. I can't help you with that.
First 3 books of The Dark Tower, something in the Wastelands. But yeah, I've gone through those multiple times, and I've reread Farseer, which we're about to talk about.
We are about to talk about it. Great segue.
Yeah, but I do rereads. It's just kind of like do I feel like doing it right now? Like sometimes I'll like start rereading something and then I won't even finish it. It's just like something to read before bed or something like that. Just revisiting.
Mm-hmm. Relatable. Because if it's too much of an exciting book, I won't sleep. Just one more chapter, another cliffhanger. Oh no!
I did that with. I just recently read My Sister, the Serial Killer, and I finished it in like 4 hours. Like I started at like 11 o'clock at night and stayed up till like after 3 a.m. like reading it because I was just like,
that's such a good feeling.
I know, but it's like I gotta sleep. I'm sick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you are. You're really not 100% at the moment.
It's okay. Everybody, thank you for dealing with the sniffles. I'll be better later.
Let's just put the rumor out that I make you emotional.
Maude, you're so fucking cool. You're just so cool.
Everyone will believe you.
So
the next book that we have, you mentioned it, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Now, I want to task you with making me like this book because I read it for a Nerdist book club, I believe around 2017, and I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
Well, tell me what you didn't like about it. I'm just curious.
I just didn't really connect to any of the characters. Felt like the pacing was slow. I just felt like nothing really happened.
Yeah. It's bleak too. It's very bleak, and it's very. I
love hope. I'm big on hope in books. If I'm escaping, I want to escape somewhere better.
You read Angie Kills a King, so you could probably see a little bit of my influence from Rob and Hobb, where it's like, let's just treat everybody like shit. Like, let's just. And I don't know what it is about it.
Except they had a dog.
Yeah, there is but Rob and Hobb is not very, very nice to animals in her books either. But I don't know what it is. Like, there's something about just like seeing. I like following a tortured character around. I don't know what it is. Like, I just like it.
What does that say about you, Evan?
I'm not really sure, but I think that like I don't mind being frustrated with a character. I don't mind watching a character kind of like have to face their own faults and not do a very good job facing their own faults. I think that, like we want like this kind of buttoned up character structure where someone sees a problem and then addresses it. But that's just not really how it goes a lot of the time, like with your own shit that you've got going on in your life. A lot of times, like things get kind of addressed, or no, not addressed, but things get kind of brought up to you that, like I've had multiple conversations where people are like, what your problem is? And I'm just like, in like a very kind of cookie cutter book, what your problem is kind of like gets addressed. And I'm kind of fine with that not getting addressed sometimes. Like I kind of want to watch a character kind of like wade through the mud of their own personality with some spectacle around it. That's like, it's pretty cool with me. And especially with a writer like Robin Hobb, who is so skilled at creating like this world and these characters, where I kind of feel like I'm in good hands. And I feel like we'll get there eventually, but I kind of want to watch the tug of war, like that kind of internal tug of war for like a while. And I think that what Robin Hobb does really well is that she's got like this kind of frustrating main character at the center of all these other characters. And then you can kind of watch like how Fitz and the way the actions that he takes and the decisions that he makes kind of like hit all these other characters and kind of like affect the small world around him in a really big way. And yeah, like that book was just like a really good example to me of like how invested you could really get into a character who, I mean, really, like not as much in Farseer, but the second book of the trilogy after Farseer is literally just him like kind of walking between like the town and the castle and just thinking about how fucked up everything is. And I think it seems boring, but like at that point you're so invested that it's not that boring. And it is really fascinating how Robin Hobb could take like basically just this character kind of wandering around the castle, just kind of thinking about stuff and make it so engrossing. And especially, I mean, I think Assassin's Apprentice for me personally works so well because it is kind of trotting over a lot of the same ground that we're kind of used to as fantasy fans of like, like this orphan boy who meets this old man who like teaches him how to do stuff, but it's done in like this like total like dreary, like really slow paced way. That's like, you never feel like you want more information. It's all being given to you. And yeah, I just love it. I just love it so much. It's so good.
Talking about fantasy tropes, which ones do you love and which ones did you like make sure you wouldn't get lured into in your storytelling for Angie?
So one trope that I really, really love is an older character imparting knowledge on a younger character. I think that's great.
The prophet, the sage.
I love that so much. I think it's a fantastic trope because there's usually some tension there. And
no, usually their journey ends just as they get to the lesson that they need to know the most.
Sure. Yeah, totally. Yeah. There's a couple of like tropes that I don't really like not like them, but I think like the chosen one trope, I'm kind of like done. I don't care that much about it. Like I don't like prophecies very much either. Never been a big like prophecy. Like whenever I'm reading a book and there's like some kind of prophecy, I'm just like, it's just kind of a mess for me. It's just like like why? Like unless there's like some kind of like, I don't know. It's just like we're messing a lot with like determinism and stuff. And it's like, if it's not going to lock into it and like explain its way through it, and it's just the prophecy is the prophecy is the prophecy, it's just kind of like, it's just kind of boring to me. But thankfully, like a lot of modern, like more contemporary stuff isn't really doing that very much.
Yeah, the prophecy phase is almost done.
Yeah, and then like
I feel like it's more about development, right? It's about taking your own life into your hands.
Yeah, I mean that's
instead
what
of
I
leaving things
would rather read. But even there is a little bit of, I wouldn't call it prophecy necessarily with Realm of the Elderlings, especially with the Farseer books, but there is like something akin to that, I suppose. But it's just different. Like the way the Robin Hobb does it is just different. I don't know. I don't really mind tropes. Like kind of, I don't know.
I'm a romantasy reader.
Oh yeah, like I think that Enemies to Lovers is really fun. I like that. I think it's It's just like a tried and true. Even though I haven't read too much romantasy, but like I definitely,
If you need good recs, let me know.
like some of the stuff I have read, it's like if they're enemies, they're probably going to become lovers. Like, do you ever get that feeling where you're just like, oh yeah, they really hate each other, so I guess in 400 pages they're going to be hooking up, you know?
Well, yeah, we actually just had a book that was like, I was excited by it. I'm like, well, they hate each other. Yeah, it's going to be so good soon. But there's like, people in my life that if you ever become an enemy, there is no coming back from that.
Yeah.
You have to really, really try to become like an enemy in my eyes. So if you manage that, well done. But like, I will never like you again.
You don't give people second chances?
If you need a second chance, you're not in enemy status.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to really be quite volatile to get enemy status with me. I shrug a lot of things off. And I think that that's like a coping mechanism that some people can get really intimidated by, where it's just like, I don't have to fix it. I don't have to solve it. I don't have to make it good. I just don't have to have it in my life.
Yeah. No, I think that's a healthy approach a lot of the time.
Yeah. I was like, the power that I give is that they just cease to exist.
You had quite the glare in your eye when you said that.
I don't know why I try to be soft scary. Maybe I'm like trying to live my own real life trope. So if I'm so scary and like intimidating and I perceive myself as like the enemy, then that's like the story is being built, right?
It is
a
story.
So scary, like.
And then we fell in love.
We've got one last book. This is the most recent book that shaped your life according to your chronological order. These were your rules explicitly.
Yeah,
I told you to rank.
Well, I
them
have
from
more
5 to 1.
but that are much more recent. But like I was trying to think of like things that like really shook everything, like really violently,
Because I feel like Lies of Locke Lamora, Assassin's Apprentice, and this book are around the same era. No?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but like
Yeah.
go ahead and name the last one.
The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan,
Totally.
and I brought my own copy.
Ooh, that's
and I want
battered.
you to see the shape of it.
My goodness, that's the way that book should look.
Yep.
It's great.
I've really done a number, and it is a mass paperback. And we have a map. Love a map.
Amazing.
I had a rule. I wouldn't read a book unless it had a map in it.
Yeah, Joe Abercrombie doesn't do maps. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, he's got a real issue with maps, though.
Yeah,
But his whole book, well, The Blade itself, is so locational driven.
I know, it's really frustrating.
They're all in different areas.
Yeah, Eye of the World, Wheel of Time in general. It's just, I think the reason I said Eye of the World is because it's the first book in the Wheel of Time, but I meant more the Wheel of Time in general. And I think that was the first time that I had, obviously it's 14 books long. I think just, because it's so long, but like I was so connected to those characters and I was so invested and I went up and down with my interest in the series and it took me like a year to read. And I think that the reason it was so impactful for me though, is just because it was like my first look at just how long a story could be and how drawn out and how like you can have so much impact from so many different directions in a series. Because something like Song of Ice and Fire, that's only 5 books, and it's the same thing. 6. Like I felt that for sure with Song of Ice and Fire, and personally, I mean, like I prefer Song of Ice and Fire over the Wheel of Time, even though, I just personally like it a little bit more. But Eye of the World and then the rest of the Wheel of Time, for me, it was just like it was the first time that like I was kind of just constantly thinking about the Wheel of Time. And I hadn't really done that with series as much. Like I really, really liked them quite a bit, but 9 books into a 14-book series and each book is 1,000 pages, like you are going to be thinking about that all the time. And you have so much to think about. Yeah, I know, if you get there. There are definitely some doldrums in the Wheel of Time, but like, I don't know. I really liked pretty much all of it. There's definitely a few parts of Wheel of Time where you're just like, geez, can we get a move on here? Like, this is so... But by the time you're there, like, I just liked the flavor of that series so much. And I've since gone... I haven't... I've read the whole thing through, and then I've listened to everything. And then I've also gone back and read... Not finished, like kind of what we were talking about before, but I'll read like half of Shadow Rising or, pick up Crown of Swords and read like the last like 5 or 6 chapters, which are really, really exciting. Or like the last few chapters of War to Chaos, which is like one of the peaks of the entire series. And, it's funny going back now, especially after having been writing so consistently for the last few years, it's given me like an even bigger appreciation of how people write, and going back and looking at the way that Robert Jordan was putting this world together in the Eye of the World, it's like it's so lush and intimate, and like it feels so lived in and so cool, and like they're going to all these different places, and there's just these people with lives that just kind of like poke in and out of the book, and it's like it's huge, like it's so cool. And he was a incredibly skilled author. It's really funny going back and looking at him and being like, damn, man, I was so immersed in this. And like, also one of the reasons it was so important to me also was when I picked up Eye of the World, I picked up Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn all at the same time. And I remember when I went to Powell's and bought it, I bought the 3 books, and then the person working at Powell's was like, you know that this is like 14 book series, right? And I was just like, yeah, I'm ready, let's do it. And she was just like, okay. But I was in an indie rock band at the time, and we were going on tour. And by tour, I played drums.
I used to play the drums.
No way! Oh, I love playing drums. I think my ears are probably ruined for life, but it's still really, really fun. Yeah, so I was in this band. I was like 24, 25, and we had traveled around a decent amount around the West Coast, but this time we were doing like 2 months of just playing shows all around the country. It was all booked out, and touring as an indie rock band is really scary. You don't have any support behind you. You barely have any money. You're just kind of limping from one show to the next, and it's really spooky. Like it's just you and a couple other idiots the same age as you, and just like you have no real plan. You know, it's spooky. You could just die at any moment. I just had like a pack of cigarettes and a dream. You know, like it wasn't really like that well thought out. But we did have it booked out. But the reason I'm bringing all this up though is because like I was reading Eye of the World like in the week kind of leading up to us leaving, and it was really inspiring to see like Rand and Egwene and Perrin and Matt kind of like leave their little bubble and go on this whirlwind adventure. And like I was really inspired by Rand, and Rand didn't want to go. He was very reluctant. He was just like, like I've got kind of like my own comfort zone here. I got this girl I want to marry. Like we're just drinking booze and hanging out and hunting and stuff. And you know, I just had my entire life uprooted. Now I got to go do this stuff, and it's scary. And there's a whole big wide world out there. And I had been feeling kind of the same way. I was in my comfort zone. I had like my girlfriend and my friends, and everything was just like very cozy and nice. And then we're going to go out into the unknown and go do all this weird stuff. And I don't know how it's going to go. And so, yeah, Eye of the World definitely was just like the perfect book at the perfect time for me. And I had those books with me. I remember, I think I bought Shadow Rising while we were on the road because I finished the first 3 while we were out. And I was just in the back of the van, just tearing through, reading about all that stuff. And yeah, it made me kind of like, this is going to sound corny, but it made me feel like I was at home when I wasn't at home.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I do think it's quite powerful to have like a character in a book almost emulate your journey, but in a fantastical sort of way.
Right.
It does provide a little bit of like, oh, we're in this together. But I have 2 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 1, what was your band called?
It's called Autonomics, which is the worst band name of all time. So disappointed that we didn't change it. We didn't change it because we thought we were too popular to change our name, which is like so not real. Like it was, we weren't popular at all. So,
Auto or Otto?
Like AUTO
Auto.
NOMICS.
Autonomics.
Horrible band name. Yeah, we wanted to go check it out. I thought the music was pretty good.
There you go. And the next one is, you kind of touched upon it, that Rand was the character that you sort of related to the most. But because there's 14 books, did you also notice that like the character that you were relating to or the storyline would also ebb and flow?
Yeah, it was Perrin for a while. Like Perrin was like my favorite character throughout. Like whenever we got to a Perrin section, I was really excited. Because Rand, it kind of just fades in. I don't know if you've read Wheel of Time.
I've read the first book twice, and neither time was I inclined to continue.
Interesting. Okay. I think that you should at least read The Great Hunt. The Great Hunt is when it really, the second
I have
book,
it on my bedside table, and it has been for about 2 years.
It really kind of like blossoms into its own, because Eye of the World is a little derivative. Like, I mean, it's running and camping, and you know, but I love, speaking of tropes, I love the running and camping trope.
I don't think that's my top 3.
I coined that one personally.
Running, camping?
I think I don't know if I coined it, but I feel like I coined it.
Running and then camping. I mean, I don't think anyone's desperate to call it that. So
sweet. You're like, Evan, that's not even really that interesting. But yeah, no, it's
it's nighttime, and then they have to set up camp, and then they're like, oh no, and then they have to keep going.
I love it. There's so many books that do that too. But yeah, it definitely shifted over to, I mean, Matt is there for comic relief, but Matt has his own cool arc too.
Matt gets dark early on, and then gets out of that one.
He kind of does exist as as this kind of comic relief, but it goes downhill for him pretty hard over the first few books of the series, but then it picks up quite a bit. But with
Everyone needs
Perrin,
a funny friend.
yeah, you gotta have a funny friend. But yeah, Perrin for sure. There's kind of his kind of like dilemma of like pacifism versus like having to actually be violent in order to do good. Like that's really interesting, and not that I have to ever be violent to do good, but just that kind of moral dilemma that he deals with, and the kind of man that he is throughout that moral dilemma was really inspiring to like mid-20s Evan for sure. Rand just becomes kind of a superhero, which is cool,
Sure.
but he kind of fades into the background of the series actually quite a bit for the main character.
Did you watch the show?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I thought the first season was pretty decent, but I think it kind of just, I don't know. It's just, it felt like kind of like a CW show a little bit. Not trying to like totally knock CW, but it just felt like a lot of flash, and it felt really fast, and it felt like they were cutting a lot of stuff, which I understand.
Yeah, it's 14 books.
Right, like I get it, but at the same time, it was just kind of, it felt like the heart of the what makes the books really good was just kind of not really in the show. It felt like they were kind of like skimming like the foam off the top and then making that into the show, which I think was really, it's not, I'm not trying to knock like the people that made it, because like it's such a huge series, it's a huge undertaking. One thing about it is like, if you want to get specific, one of the things that I thought was really endearing about the books is that the main kind of cast, like the more kind of tight-knit group of characters in the first book, in the Eye of the World, they have like really conservative sensibilities. And I don't mean conservative in like the political sense, but like just in the sense that like they're very sheltered, and them kind of moving out of that shelter into the wider world is what's so endearing about their characters, and watching them grow through that. And I feel like the show just didn't really do that. Like the show just is just kind of like, let's just like, they're badass, and then they're badass, and then they're badass, and then it's just like, you kind of like took the growth out of there a little bit, you know? Like,
okay, that's a really interesting observation.
That's just how I felt about it though too. And I only watched I think that there are parts of the first season especially, which are really cool, which they do really well. But then there's just some decisions that were made where I was just like, I don't know, like I don't know if I like that, you know?
Did you watch Legend of the Seeker, which was out like
No,
15
that's
years
the
before?
Wizard's First Rule like thing, right? Yeah.
I think so. It kind of gave me the same vibe of that.
Yeah.
Which was an evolution from the vibe of Hercules and Xena. So what I'm trying to say is they went from New Zealand to Prague, but like it's this. It was
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Wheel of Time show, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with me too. I think it's a good fantasy show, but it's not a very good adaptation. And I think that a lot of people would say the same thing about something like Rings of Power, which is like, I think, a pretty decent fantasy show, but it's not a good Lord of the Rings show. It's not a good Middle Earth show. Like it's
all that money and the script couldn't be good.
Yeah, they're rough. It's a rough watch for sure. But like, I mean, there's parts of it that are. I think the parts with like Elrond and the dwarves and stuff is like pretty cool. And
I agree.
I think there are a lot more redeeming parts of Rings of Power than people are willing to talk about, because it's so fun to hate on them. Because like it's pretty cringy. Like there's definitely some parts of Rings of Power that are just like, whoa, why are we doing this? For sure. Yeah. But I think it's at least like when Sauron, like whoever is like walking into Mordor, and it says like the Westlands, and then it like like PowerPoint like erases the word, and then it just says Mordor like on the top left of the screen.
You're like,
that was so weird. And it's this old magical man that fell from the sky. Like, who is it? Like, who could it possibly be? And it's like, obviously this is Gandalf. Like, you know, they just can't. Obviously.
That actually brings me to my bonus question. We are wrapping things up. Sure. We did get your top 5 books that shaped your life. We've gone on an amazing journey. We got to talk about your book as well. We got to talk about how you became a content creator. Hey, we found out you're in an indie band. My last question before we say goodbye, can we just talk about your obsession with Neville Longbottom?
Well, yeah. I love Neville. I in my spare time, I'm writing a fan fiction of Neville. It's all the events of the 7 books from Neville's point of view, and it's just for my own personal. I don't think I'll ever even put it on the internet. It's just for me. I just love Neville so much because I feel like he's like the 5th wheel in like the Gryffindor 100%. Common room, and like he just, from like the second he gets to school, everyone's just shitting all over him like constantly. Yeah, and he, like nobody has any faith in him or anything, and it's like it's just it's funny because I feel like that series it's just kind of harps about how lonely Harry is, and it's like, yeah, totally, he's lonely, but what about fucking
What
Neville? Like,
about
yeah, like no
Neville?
one
He's got
cares about him
no
at all.
friends.
Yeah, he's got no
He is
friends.
uncool.
Yeah, no one likes him, and at least for most of that series, Harry's kind of got friends. So yeah, I just I've been alone at school before, and I felt like I didn't have any friends before, and I just connect with them.
So I had a theory that Hermione wouldn't have been friends with them without trauma bonding. And if the troll in the bathroom didn't happen, then she wouldn't be a part of that group. What could Neville have trauma bonded over to get a group of friends? Because I feel like
Yeah.
the events that took place that were traumatic for him, he was really, really young. And so he almost trauma bonded with the other adults that were friends of his parents. And so that's kind of who was looking out for him, but no one of his own age, because no one went through anything even close to that except Harry.
Yeah, I feel like he probably could have he wasn't in a position to talk about what happened to his parents really, but I feel like that actually probably would have trauma bonded them pretty well if they had both opened up about it a little bit, but they weren't at an age where they were able to do something like that. But it's funny too because Neville gets bullied so much that I feel like they should have welcomed him into the clique, but they didn't.
It didn't.
I don't know, it's just picking on him. Like they kind of pick on him too. Like the narrative picks on him. Like those books are really cruel, actually. They're all those characters are really mean to each other. Like just noticing it, you know.
Maybe my mean barometer is just a little.
No,
Were they? Or were they just, was it a Wednesday?
yeah, no, your sass tolerance and everything is pretty high for sure.
I'm Australian though.
Are Australians notoriously sassy? Is that a thing?
We just roast everyone. No one's safe.
Nobody's safe. I did hear about I watched that Jim Jeffries stand-up thing where he talked about drop bears.
Yeah.
Is that real? Is that actually a thing?
There are drop bears, yeah. You shouldn't, with your running, camping, you shouldn't be under a tree when you camp.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
all I'll say.
I would love to go to Australia, but is it really as dangerous as everyone says it is?
I just saw this really interesting glimpse into it where it was like, does Australia have 47 out of 50 of the most venomous snakes? Yes. Does it have sort of 11 out of the top 20 most dangerous spiders? Yes. Has there been a single spider death since the 1974? No.
Really? Is it because they're all out in the bush? Is it just they're not?
That's exactly it. We have wilderness. We have 85% of Australia is not populated. We are all on the coastline.
Yeah.
And so everything in the middle, it's just untapped sort of chaos from the wilderness. But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, more people die from kangaroos, but that's not because kangaroos are fighting them. It's because they're hopping into traffic and it's a car incident. Sharks, maybe 37 deaths in the last 30 years.
Wow.
But then you look at shootings in America and it's like,
I would rather be in
what
Australia.
are you really afraid of? I would much rather face off with a red-bellied black snake than an incel with a gun.
Or brown snake, I think, is a really poisonous one.
We have brown snakes on my property in Brisbane.
I didn't even know it was pronounced Brisbane. I was saying Brisbane.
Yeah, it's because you're American.
I'm just in
Melbourne.
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 Sydney.
Brisbane. We just very lazy language.
Have you been to
Evs as well?
Have you been to Uluru?
I have not.
Oh,
it's
really?
The only place in Alice Springs is the only place in Australia that I haven't visited out of all the capital cities or all the main sort of areas. I've been everywhere else.
You used to be able to climb it, but you can't do that anymore, right?
No,
Yeah,
because
that makes sense.
It's
it's Native Australians' land. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's white people defiling sort of
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we did a little bit of that eventually. Here. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for chatting books with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you entertaining my rambling about all the books that I really love because I could do it for hours and hours.
I know. So right now we're doing the next 5 book now. Thank you so much. Get back to writing. What can we expect next from you?
Oh, yeah. So Angie and Shadow, the sequel to Angie Kills a King, comes out in January of 2027. And I know that's kind of a long wait, but I also have quite a bit in the wings. A lot of stuff I can't really talk about right now, but don't you worry.
Are you putting the right in right now?
Huh?
Is it more things that you're writing?
Oh, yes. More. Yes. Lots more. I've finished quite a few projects and I'm really proud of them, really excited about them. And I've got a lot of gas in the tank, but we did have to push the release date for Angie and Shadow back a few months, unfortunately. But that's just the way it goes in publishing. Things are just kind of delayed sometimes, which is, I guess, I was really stressed out about it, but my publisher was really cool about it, and they were like, it happens all the time. So that's really nice. But yeah, lots more books to come, and I will be traveling around this year, going to conventions and doing that whole thing, and then a book tour at the beginning of 2027. So some of you will see me in person. Yeah.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for giving me your time. Get back to bed. Feel better.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say, oh, yeah, I'm sick? Did you forget?
Yeah. No, this conversation perked me right back up.
Hey, it is medicine.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye.